Okay, let's try this review one more time. This twice was super interrupted by notifications on this thing. I put it finally into Do Not Disturb mode. That one also, but because I hadn't turned on the Note 20 about a week, it was backlogging all the notifications that I got, which is stupid and very frustrating. I don't know why it does that. It's especially text message is one thing. I don't need Facebook notifications or Walmart notifications. But regardless, done. So I upgraded from the Note 20 5G, not the Ultra, to the S21 Ultra 5G. So this is the best I can get on Verizon. I think the S22 is coming out soon, but I looked at the specs and there was no difference between the two, no noticeable difference. So I said I'll take the trade-in credit, which they gave me $700 for the Note 20. So I was fine with that. Anyways, all right, I'm not going to get interrupted anymore. First things first that you'll notice on these phones is the huge difference in camera cluster size. I don't know what they call it, but that's what I'm going to call it. 3 lenses, 4 lenses, and then also this has a depth infrared lens or something, sensor for depth, which I guess helps with autofocus. The biggest change is this thing here. I don't know which one this is. I don't know if this is the wide angle, which this also has, or has a feature that's wide angle, or if this is the telephoto. It could be the telephoto because that's the main difference I've noticed in the camera between the two. This can actually zoom at 10 times without loss. The 100 times is still kind of a joke. Like, it works. You can use it. Like, say you needed to see something far away, you could use that, but it's not going to be anything worth putting on the wall. But the 10 times is pretty clear, and this had a 3 times max. So definite noticeable difference there with the actual quality. But as far as looks go, that's the biggest difference, and you can see it protrudes quite a bit. Try to see if I can get a profile view here to see. Yeah, so you can see it really protrudes more so than this one does on the Note 20. It's very small on the Note 20. And as a result, the phone lays a lot more flat. It's still shaky if you tap it because of that. It's off balance, but you're going to have a case most likely anyways, so it won't matter. Same thing with this. This is even more wobbly because of that. I mean, I don't know how people don't put a case on these. It just feels wrong putting the phone down even without it. This is it's styled more like the S8 or S9 that I had before, except those had a glass back, and I remember everybody was always complaining about that on the Note 20, was that it doesn't have a glass back. But from what I can tell, this is the exact same back. It's plastic, which, is a little bit surprising considering that this phone, the S21, is a $1,200 phone, and this was a $1,000 phone. But I don't mind it, and it's going to be the case anyways. But holding the two together, I prefer the feel of the Note 20. It feels a little more solid, if that sounds. I really don't like this giant camera bump, and that's probably why in the S22 they made it its own little lenses. I don't know how much that's going to change because they're going to still protrude just without the plastic shrouding around it. But I do prefer the feel of the S20, and it feels skinnier, and I think it's lighter as well, which would make sense. It has a smaller battery. This had Gorilla Glass 5 or something, and this one I think it's called Victus. So I might be butchering that, or Vulcan. I don't know what it was. Something with a V. But this was the newest one. This is a older Gorilla Glass. No scratches on the screen. None on this one either. I don't use a screen protector. There's really no need to, or at least in my experience, for the last 5-6 phones, I haven't had one. I haven't needed it, and that should not be any different on this one. Just take moderate care of your phone. I used this heavily for the last 18 months-ish, and I'm sure I'll use this as heavily as well. All of my videos are just straight from phone to YouTube without even hitting the computer. So I will say this was in a case, and it's got a metal side, and you can see it here. There's a little bit of pitting. Or are those just, is that sand? Oh, it looks like pitting, so I hope they don't care about that, but on the trade-in. But that's the first phone I've ever had that, probably because it's not glass on the outside like my other ones. And, you know, sand gets caught in the case, a little abrasive case, or a little abrasive sand. In the S21, Note 21. And then the other thing I'm losing on the Note S21 is the S Pen. Now, it supposedly works. I don't think that I can just straight up use it like that because it's connected to this phone, but it supposedly works on this one. You just have to buy it extra, and there's no storage spot for it. So that's a negative. I didn't use it very much on the Note 20, but the biggest thing that I used it for was the remote camera shutter. So you can push this button, and it makes a remote camera. I will miss that feature on the S21 Ultra. But if I wanted to, I could have gotten a case with the S Pen and, you know, the actual S Pen, and it would have been a little bit wider. I think it goes over here on the outside. But let's try and get these at the same brightness, just to see if you can see the difference between the two. I mean, they're on auto brightness, or one's on auto brightness at least. Not sure. Yeah, okay. So this one's full brightness, and that one's also full brightness. You can see they're both pretty bright. Obviously my background is more bright. So you can see here, it actually looks pretty crisp on the right one. This is a higher resolution screen. This has 120 hertz scrolling on the S21. The Note 20 does not, so you can see if it's smoother. It does feel a bit smoother. I've noticed on scrolling between pages, it feels a little crisper on the S21. Like it goes a little faster. It's all could be perception though. Okay, let's load YouTube on both of them. I'm gonna try and hit this as simultaneously as I can. Okay, so they loaded two different things. I guess that makes sense. I'm not logged in. This one seemed to go quicker, surprisingly. This one definitely scrolls more fluid on the left. I don't know if you can tell that. It just feels a little less stop and go, which would make sense from the dynamic refresh rate up to 120 hertz. I believe this is 90 hertz. I could be wrong. It could be less, but I think it's 90. So you can see they load pretty similar times. Again, it's hard to say. You know, after using this phone for a week, the S22, I would say that they are not much different in performance, aside from the camera. I think the camera with the zoom is a lot better, and maybe the other stuff is better at night as well. I have a couple night pictures. It's been really bad weather in Florida for the last couple days, or when I was taking the photo pictures. So I might try and grab some more tomorrow before I do send it back, if it's a nice day, so you can get a daylight picture. But as of right now, I'll pop those up right here in the video. see the difference between the two. Not much of a difference, except for the zoom, but that camera is very important to me, which is why I upgraded, and because of the deal, because I don't know how much longer these phones are going to stay this price, or if they're going to keep going up in price with inflation and all other manners of expense. So I wanted to jump on it while I could, because this one should be good for another 2 to 3 years. Excuse me. I'm boring myself. Battery life so far has been better on the S21. You could say that's because this is a 1.5 years old with heavy usage, and I was never very religious about unplugging it at 80% or any of the other stuff that you're supposed to do to preserve the battery life. But I will say this definitely has a better battery life so far. It lasts the full day. Right now, this one had stopped doing that. It used to probably when it was brand new, but it's also has a bigger battery, so that's not that surprising. Front-facing cameras are very similar. I haven't noticed much of a better experience with this one, but that's not to say that it isn't, because I'm sure that they did make some improvements. I just don't take a lot of selfies, because I would rather have it be on the main camera where it's super clear. I did notice, speaking of the selfie camera, I don't know if you can see this dot right there. See how big it is there? And then if we can get it to... USAA is made for the safe pilots. Oh my God. This is a very difficult thing to do, by the way. With these gigantic phones that are all screen, it's very hard to not just hit everything. And then everything autoplays. So I want to see it. Can you see the difference in the circle up at the top? It's definitely smaller on the S21 versus the Note 20, which is a nice feature. I kind of am still impartial to the Apple way of doing it, or maybe other manufacturers too, where it comes down. I like that. It just looks like, you have a camera, nobody's expecting you don't have a camera. It's kind of like why you're hiding it. I like that they can, that they kind of cut out the screen to make it, part of it, rather than this is just kind of there. And like this does overlap my screen. I know it's good for full screen stuff, just with a little dot, but I haven't tried 5G ultra wideband on either of these phones, surprisingly. It's not in my area. It's close. I think it's in Orlando, and I visited a couple places that have it, but it's not right where I live. Regardless, this still gets extremely good speeds. Both of them do on the 5G. I'm not sure what it's called, but the 4G LTE that became the 5G, like the, where they just changed the symbol. It gets about 160 to 180 Mbps, which is, close to as fast as my Wi-Fi. So it's definitely nothing to, snooze at. Let me open up I have the same game updated on both of them. Ooh, I don't know if it's going to let me do it. Let me just open one right now. So there was a load time on that. And I don't think it's going to let me open it at the same time because it's linked. I'll kick me off of that one. So, it's they're both pretty quick to load. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of indifferent when it comes to the two phones because this was already such a good phone. What I had wished I could do, and I originally was looking at the Pixel 6 Pro because of the storage because it comes with up to, I think I was looking at the 256 version, which I think is what it comes max with. Maybe more, but it had bad reviews, so I didn't do it. Unfortunately, with Verizon, both this one and the S21, both the Note 20 and the S21 only came with a max of 120 in the color that they had available. It said that they had a silver that was 256, but they didn't have it. And they, when I asked, they said they didn't even sell that one. So I'm not entirely sure if they do even offer it. But I miss the days of the SD card because I take a lot of videos, a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff I don't need to take, but I do. And it's annoying that it fills up a lot. So I wish this was more storage. Actually, I wish it had an SD card because I'm not really sure why we are still dealing with onboard only. They want to move everything to the cloud, but it's not that hard, I guess, to transfer it off every once in a while. But still, that is my biggest complaint with both of these phones, is the lack of more than 128 gig storage. I think what I could do is there's the same thing that the iPhone users do, and I think this is kind of an iPhone-centric thing where people don't really care that they can't send them to anybody other than iPhones. But I think we can do the same thing on these, which is there's a file codec or a format that only works on the Galaxy phones. And you might be able to export it as something eventually, but I think if you save it as that, it might save a lot of space. So I haven't tried that, but I do believe that's what they do on the iPhones, because I've seen people with thousands and thousands of pictures taking up only a fraction of the space, whereas it's a one-for-one on this. It makes it really quick to transfer between computer and phone, but or upload to YouTube because there's no converting going on, but I think it does use a lot of disk space. But other than the storage, though, this phone's been great. Both phones have been great. If I would do it again, so far, I probably wouldn't. And that's just because, again, the Note 20 is a good phone. I don't know if it's worth the extra. I think I'm paying an extra $2 a month because of the trade-in deal. But if I were gonna, if this was paid off and I wasn't gonna be able to trade it in and get a good deal, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done, another, whatever this would cost without the deal, $1,200. It might be something like $40 a month, which is a lot. I don't think I would pay that. It's good. It's a great phone. Both of them are. I mean, so far this one verified great phone for a year and a half, and I've not been gentle with it, and it's held up really well. I mean, it served me very well. So, verified great phone on the Note 20. This one so far, for having it for a week, has been a great phone. But I just don't know if the upgrade is justified between the two. If you're in need of a new phone, I would say go for the gold. Get this one. You may want to consider the Pixel 6 Pro. See if they've figured out the bugs, because that was a lot cheaper. The phone itself was $900. I'm sorry, $990, I think. So $200 cheaper than this, and that was for the 256 gig version. The 128 actually might have been $900. On the benchmarks, it was worse than the S21. So S21 Ultra. So it may not be as good of a phone, but it's a newer phone. It came out in the fall of 2021 versus this was the spring, or about a year ago, for the S21 Ultra. I think the camera on the Pixel 6 Pro is probably pretty good as well. The other reason that I decided against the Pixel 6 Pro, other than the bad reviews, was that it does not have ultra or super slow-mo, which this does. You figure how useful that is to you or not. It's only a 720p slow motion recording, but it's very slow. It's 960 frames per second, I think, which is enough to see the flash of a gun firing or something like that. Depending on, you have to time it right, but actually there's a cool slow motion Bumblebee that I took with the Note 20, which had the same feature. So I'll link that there in the description as well. If you want to go check that out, it's just a nice 15-second clip. But that was the other reason why I went with this over the Pixel 6 Pro. But again, Is it worth the money, the extra money? I don't know. If the Pixel 6 Pro had gotten stellar reviews, and it's not like feature-wise it got bad reviews. It got bad reviews because it had, people are saying it has a lot of bugs. So if it had gotten stellar reviews, I would have gone with that probably, just because the deal proposition of it was just amazing. I mean, it would have been almost free because of the trade-in on this. It would have been whatever it would have cost me to pay for this to pay off this phone, and that's it. So it probably would have been worth it, but I'm not willing to deal with any sort of hassle. I used to do back when I had multiple cell phones at a time and was a kid. But now I don't. Now I just want a phone that works, and I'm confident in the Galaxy and the Note series to provide that. But audio-wise, it's hard to tell on the video, but I would say that the Note 20 has slightly louder speakers. I don't know which one is more clear. Both of them have dual use Bluetooth, so like I can connect to two different speakers at the same time, which is fantastic. It's been a feature on this and probably the older Androids since before that, because I've had it on this Note 20 as long as I can remember. I will say this one seems to have a stronger Bluetooth. When I'm in my main floor, I have two speakers about maybe 40 feet apart from each other, and this one I can sit in the middle of them without any issue and kind of walk around. This one did give me a little issue with that range, so it did start to drop off depending on which one. Now it could be the speakers too, but the same speakers, this phone performed better than the S21, and I mean, it stands to reason that it would get better as time goes on. I don't really think there's much else to talk about. If you had a Galaxy One, it's very similar. I've had no problems with the upgrade, with a monthly, certainly, maybe even weekly updates. Samsung's been very good at pushing them, and Verizon as well. I've had no issues. Like they've been Johnny on the spot for all of the Galaxies I've owned. This would be now the fourth Galaxy, because I switched my Lumia 950 XL Windows phone for an S8. Then I went to S9, then I skipped the S10 and went straight to the Note 20, and now I'm on the S21 Ultra, and I will skip the S22 generation and probably get the 23 when it comes out in a couple of years. But yeah, let me I'll put a comparison of any pictures that I took after this as well, so you can kind of view for yourself, because that's the big change. The change, and I'll link to the rocket launch that I just recorded with this. You can see it elsewhere in the profile. That was only on this S21 Ultra, zoomed 10 times, and it looks pretty crazy. I'm amazed that it's a camera phone that did that. Okay, so I'm going to actually go do this again, because this phone that I'm recording on, I ran out of storage, so that meant that it just randomly stopped recording. So let's try this image feature on the versus the Note 20 to the S21. So this is the cool thing that I wanted to see here. And I mean, I'm going to post this up there so that you can see the high quality. But so check that right there. Can you see anything below that Ben Franklin or the Franklin? And this is the Note 20. So watch this. Ready? Ooh, this was tough. Okay, perfect. Go to 3 times. Let me. See that? It's super tiny, but it says USA, 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 USA. It says it over here too. There's text. They put these little text marks on the $100 bill. So I'll post that comparison between the Note 20 and the S21, so you can see which one's better close up. I can tell you right now, it's gonna be the S21, because we did this yesterday, even though it didn't record it. The focal distance is a lot shorter on the S21 Ultra. But as far as, I guess this would be called macro, it's a great camera. It's a great macro camera. But like, if you ever get $100 bill, this is on all the other ones too. Except for ones. Ones don't have anything, but I think 5s, 10s, and 20s do. And it's actually really cool because you really can't see it unless you're looking, especially this stuff down here. This is a crappy camera I'm recording. This is as good as it gets. So that's what that was down there. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that. Now these will be some of the comparison pictures. The other ones that I'm going to put on here are okay. Just note that they were taken kind of quickly, so they may not be the crispest pictures on the far distance ones, but the S21 is definitely better or equal to the Note 20 in every way as far as the camera goes, and the zoom is definitely the best. Okay, so I decided to grab the benchmark software, just so you can see it without having to look it up. Pop that up brighter. So you can see here S21 Ultra, and then the Note 20 with, whatever stupid name they gave it. This is the 888 Qualcomm. I don't know what that one is. It's not telling me. So you can see 4 cores, 3 cores, 1 core. 6 it is only an 8 core. But they have it on all this weird whatchamacallit format. Obviously this is not right. This is I must have this set to lower resolution. Whatever, I'll keep the same so we can test it. It's probably whatever it tests at, or maybe it sets it to that. I don't know. Let's do run benchmark. Both of these are on battery. I don't know if that matters, but we'll at least get the same. Both of them have a significant amount of battery life, so it's not like it's a one-ton power saver, because neither of them are. So I'll let this run and pick it up. Okay, so it's coming up. It was moving, and now it's stuck at 90%. It's really amazing if you think about it, how well these phones can do performance, given they have only passive cooling. I mean, it's pretty amazing. These are as powerful as computers from just a couple of years ago. Okay, so I think that's actually quite in line with what I was seeing online. So 3092 for multi-core. So they're really not that far off. There's definitely, single core on the Note, the S21, which is on the left, is S21 Ultra is significantly better. That's about 10% bump, a little more. And multi-core is not nearly as much, but it still is a noticeable bump. So there is definitely some performance benefits to the new phone, obviously, but is it worth it? I don't know. I never had any issues with the Note 20, Note 20 5G, not Ultra, on the right. So there you go. So here's the single core. Excuse me. So right there. I guess this is everything. I did much better than the foreign version, I guess. Is that what this is? This is going to be Exynos or whatever they call it. Let's see if we can find my Note 20. Note 20 is supposed to be 882. So it's an 865. So we did better than the benchmarks on most. Yeah. I guess I don't show it. But, and then multi-core, let's see where we were. So again, better than anything else. This must be only Samsungs, or are they... Yeah, it's only Samsungs. I'm not sure why, but... so still better than the S21 Ultra international version. This one did... I'm kind of surprised. Oh, I guess so. The Exynos ones, or whatever they're called, are worse, I guess. So I guess that makes me feel better. Let me try the compute benchmark now. Okay, so I ran the compute score, and it's a big difference. 4666 and 3596 on the Note 20. So I'm not sure what that translates to real world, but you can see it's the same specs that I showed before. But that's a big change. Here we go. Here's the actual specs. Again, I don't really know what this all means, but you're welcome to interpret it. I don't think there's a... Oh, there is. There's a device comparison. So, ooh, okay. That's surprising. I don't know what this is, but so the Wii did way worse than the Exynos ones. Unless, no, obviously higher's got to be better. So that's surprising. So we slot right in at above the S20 FE. And we're still above the other one, the S21. So the Snapdragons must do worse than the Exynos ones. I mean, this one is way low. 3596 is... It's still above the Note 20 Ultra, but... So that's an interesting... that's interesting. Now, Vulcan, we could try that. I don't really know what the difference is, but let's try it just for the heck of it. Okay, so the Vulcan finished running, and same story as before. This left, then S21 is much better than the Note 20, and I'm gonna guess that this is still very far off. It is, so... I mean, it's not even close. So I don't know what this translates to. This might be graphics, or something else, but like it's definitely way worse. It's still best of the US phones, it looks like. Obviously it's only doing Samsung for some reason, but it's definitely the best of the Samsung US phones for CPU and compute. This is the best of CPU for any of the phones, international or US, and then compute, it's the best for the US phones. Then the Exynos ones or whatever, just smoke it. And this did okay. Still, obviously a premium. It's a year and a half or a 2-year-old phone. It might be a year and a half. I think I got it when it was pretty new, but so it's definitely worse than this. But I never noticed any issue, honestly, on the Note 20. It did everything I wanted. I usually use it for video editing. Is the most CPU intensive task I do, and I never had any problems with it. But there you go. There are the two benchmarks. You can see the difference in clock speed. One that seems to be a little running faster, but it might be older, so it might be on a different nanometer, whatever they call that, architecture or something. But anyways, there you go.